Hi, my friends. Today I want to present you a new story. Enjoy watching it.
The chandelier overhead gleamed like a constellation of miniature suns, casting its cold, sterile glow upon the long dining table. Crystal glasses clinked, silverware scraped against porcelain, and low murmurs of conversation filled the air, punctuated by the occasional burst of laughter. It was a grand evening, hosted by none other than Jess Benson, a man who prided himself on appearances, control, and above all, legacy. I sat among them, a guest at my own family's table, fingers loosely wrapped around the stem of my untouched wine glass. My father, as always, held court at the head of the table, speaking with that measured authority that made men nod in deference and women regard him with admiration. But beneath his poised exterior lurked something cruel, something unrelenting, and tonight I knew I was his target. I barely had time to brace myself before he set down his glass with a deliberate clink, silencing the room. "Nancy," he said, his voice smooth but razor-sharp. "I've thought long and hard about this." Every eye turned to me. The weight of their stares was suffocating. I lifted my chin ever so slightly, willing myself to remain unmoved. "You are a disappointment," he continued, his lips curling ever so slightly, as though he relished the words. "A failure. A waste of the Benson name." The silence that followed was absolute. Even the servers, expertly trained to be invisible, hesitated. I could feel my mother stiffen 2 seats away. My Uncle Henry cleared his throat awkwardly, while my cousin Lauren cast me a sympathetic glance, but none of them spoke. None of them would dare. Des Benson wasn't a man to be challenged, but I had expected this. I tilted my head, feigning mild curiosity. "Is that so?" A flicker of irritation passed over his face at my lack of reaction, but he quickly masked it with a cold smile. "You've squandered every opportunity given to you. No ambition, no discipline. Your name, my name, will not be tainted by failure. From this moment forward, you are no longer a part of this family." A sharp gasp came from someone down the table. My mother's grip tightened around her wine glass, her knuckles white. I let the silence stretch just a moment longer, letting the weight of his words settle over the room like a heavy fog. And then slowly, deliberately, I lifted my glass. "To freedom," I said smoothly, offering him a smile. For the first time, it was he who was caught off guard. A flicker of something unreadable crossed his face. Annoyance? Surprise? I didn't care. I drained the glass in one sip, placed it back down with quiet finality, and pushed my chair back. The scrape of wood against marble echoed through the hushed room. Without another word, I turned and walked away. Behind me, murmurs erupted, hushed whispers rising like smoke. I didn't look back. I didn't need to. As I stepped out of the grand dining hall, the cold night air embraced me, cleansing, refreshing. I inhaled deeply, feeling something unexpected stir in my chest. Relief. I was free. The cafe smelled of freshly brewed coffee and warm cinnamon rolls, a sharp contrast to the cold sting of my father's words from the night before. I sat across from Lorna, my best friend and the only person who had the audacity to call Jess Benson an arrogant fossil to my face. "You're taking this way too well," she said, stirring her cappuccino with an unnecessary amount of force. "Your father just erased you from his life in front of half the city's elite, and here you are sipping tea like you planned it." I smirked. "Maybe I did." Lorna sighed, shaking her head. "So what now? Because I refuse to let you wallow in misery." I pulled out my phone, unlocking it absent-mindedly. "I'll figure something out." My words stopped as I noticed an unread email, marked anonymous sender. I frowned and clicked it open. "Nancy Benson, we have been watching your potential. An opportunity awaits you. If you're ready to step out of your father's shadow, reply. No obligations, just possibilities. No name, no contact details, just an unsettlingly direct offer." Lorna leaned over, reading the email. That is either a dream job or an attempt to steal a person from high society. I exhaled, considering. Or an opportunity to start over. She folded her arms. "You're seriously thinking about replying?" I locked eyes with her. "I don't have much to lose." Lorna sighed, then reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "Just promise me you'll be careful." I nodded. Later, on my way home, I stopped by the market, a habit I hadn't shaken since childhood. I grabbed a basket, tossing in a few groceries, then on impulse, I plucked 2 lottery tickets from the counter. Call it superstition. But something told me my life was about to change. The shrill ring of my phone shattered the morning silence. Groggy, I grabbed it, barely registering the number. Congratulations, an overly enthusiastic voice chirped. You're the winner of $1.3 million. I sat up so fast my head spun. Excuse me? The lottery, the voice clarified. Your ticket matched the numbers. You've won, Miss Benson. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. My fingers clutched the crumpled ticket from my coat pocket. The numbers aligned perfectly. Lorna's scream nearly deafened me when I told her, "You're rich, filthy rich." I laughed, still in disbelief. It's surreal. But my shock deepened when I checked my email. The anonymous offer had a follow-up. Nancy, our interest in you is real. This is an invitation. The company is Titan Corp, your father's biggest rival. Let us know if you're ready to talk. My breath hitched. Winning the lottery was luck. But this was power. Lorna grinned. So what's it going to be? Fortune and revenge? I met her gaze, heart pounding. Both. It's been half a year, I've made great strides in my new job. The gala was extravagant, gold chandeliers, a sea of silk gowns, and the hum of elite conversation. But tonight I wasn't here as a guest. I was the guest of honor. As I stepped into the ballroom, a hush followed my presence. The air was thick with curiosity. The same men and women who once dismissed me as Zess Benson's disappointing daughter were now murmuring my name with admiration. I walked with confidence, shaking hands, exchanging smiles, my black evening gown flowing behind me like a shadow of my past, one I had long shed. Then he arrived. Jess Benson entered with the air of a man expecting to command the room. His sharp gaze flicked over the crowd, scanning, calculating. He was looking for me. Expecting submission, expecting an apology. Instead, he found something else. His daughter, standing tall, poised, laughing among the very men who had once admired him. I let him stew in the moment before making my way toward him, champagne glass in hand, expression unreadable. "Father," I greeted, tilting my head slightly. "You came." His jaw tightened. His voice was low, controlled. "I expected better of you, Nancy. Aligning with my rivals?" I swirled the champagne in my glass, my lips curving into a slow, deliberate smile. "I didn't align with them, Father. They aligned with me." Around us, conversations quieted. People listened, waiting, watching. The mighty Zess Benson, known for never showing weakness, now stood surrounded by whispers. He was no longer the center of the universe. His voice dropped further. "This is a mistake." I took a small step closer, my words sharp, quiet, deadly. "No, Father." Disowning me was a mistake. A flicker of something, shock, regret, crossed his face, but it vanished just as quickly. I didn't wait for a response. Instead, I turned on my heel and walked away, my hand already extended to shake those of his former allies. A new reality settled over the room. Jess Benson had not abandoned me. It's just that I've outgrown him. The call came late at night. I stared at the screen. "Mother." A name, not a comfort. Still, I answered. "Nancy." Her voice was hesitant, almost fragile. "Can we meet?" I agreed, but on my terms. A quiet cafe far from the towering world of my father. When she arrived, she looked different, older, wearier, uncertain. Her hands trembled as she stirred her tea. "I never wanted this," she whispered, eyes downcast. "I, your father." I let out a small, humorless laugh. "You stood by and watched." Her gaze snapped to mine. I was afraid. I leaned forward. "And now?" She swallowed hard, glancing at the window as if searching for an answer. "Now, I don't want to lose you." A long silence stretched between us. The mother I had once idolized, the woman who had stood behind my father as he erased me from his world, now wanted a place in mine. I exhaled slowly. "You're welcome in my life, Mother, but I won't beg for you to be in it." Tears welled in her eyes, but I had already made my choice. I wasn't the broken girl from that dinner anymore. That night, my father called. I let it ring. Instead, I booked 2 first-class tickets to Hawaii, one for me, one for Lorna. A fresh start, a new beginning. As the confirmation email arrived, I smiled. I had won.
Friends, what do you think of this story? Write your opinion in the comments. Would you like more stories? Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell button so you don't miss any videos. See you tomorrow.